Hey YouTube, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing this a little bit differently. Unfortunately, your boy was not lucky enough to pull Demiurge in 30 pulls. Surprising, am I right? That's kind of the problem is with Omega Nadia that came out, I spent too much time trying to spend my resources in pulling for Omega Nadia, even though she's kind of a subpar unit in PvE and PvP. She's helpful, but not that helpful. Realistically, I should have been saving for Demiurge Luna as soon as she came out, and that way I could have just gone ham into Demiurge Luna's banner. Unfortunately, didn't do that. Not the end of the world, because I have an amazing Outerplane community that I absolutely adore. These guys are fucking awesome. These guys are crazy. They even made an entire website about all things Outerplane. They talk about characters, we do equipment, we use tools, we use guides, we have all of this stuff. Everything we throw on the website is pure fact. We pull it from the game. Every single number in here I believe is 100% accurate, and I will stand by that. If you can find something that in here that is not entirely accurate, good on you, let me know, because that's a call that I would not have been able to make. I think everything in here is perfect, because my community that we have in the Eva Mains Discord, there's a link on this website if you want to join that Discord channel. These guys are awesome. These guys busted their ass to make this website, and I'm going to be using it for this breakdown because, again, I spent too many resources on Omega Nadia instead of Demiurge Luna. Oopsies. So, without further ado, let's get into this breakdown because Demiurge Luna is kind of nuts. First things first, Demiurge Luna is a light mage wizard, which means she has a pretty good base speed stat. I want to talk about her transcend stars really quickly. So when you first get her, you'll get her at burst level 2, you'll get her at 3 stars, burst level 2. You'll get her at 4 stars, which is realistically where I would stop if you're playing for PvE reasons. You don't necessarily need it for PvP reasons unless you want to try hard. You get 6% ally team critical hit chance and plus 50% critical damage. This plus 1% chain passive weakness gauge reduction isn't too helpful, but it can be. And then you'll get her at 4+1. You'll just get a little bit of stars, but at 5 stars, you'll get the plus 25% action points at battle start, which is pretty helpful, and access to burst level 3, which is nutty. And then you'll get her at 6 stars, and this is where she gets really crazy. At 6 stars, she gets plus 100% the Moonlight Heralding Dawn's damage, which is her S3. So you just get to double her S3's damage, plus an additional 30% penetration. Yes, that is a lot of buffs. Yes, that's crazy. However, getting her to 6 stars means you have to pull 8 of her, I believe. You get 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, you have to pull 7 of her. You have to pull 7 Demiurge Lunas in order to get her at 6 stars, which is just a tall order for someone who is free to play, unless you are literally just now starting and you're just throwing all of your resources into Demiurge Luna. That's kind of your only answer. That's why I say you can stop at 4 stars realistically if you're not going to be try-harding all of the events. Just know if you see Demiurge Luna in there kicking ass, it's probably because they have her at 6 stars and they sweat. They've been a long-time player and they just have oodles and oodles of resources to spend. Unlike me, because I'm a broke bitch. We're going to talk about her S1, all of her skills really quickly. Her S1, Heaven's Fall. Based on what form it is, you either get a priority bonus if you're in White Knight, and if you're in Polar Knight, she gets an attack bonus. If you use her S2, which is called Abraxas, changes the current state to White Knight to Polar Knight, or vice versa, depending on what form you are, and gains an extra turn. Each form applies a unique persistent effect. Where are those effects? Right here. If you are in White Knight, reduces final damage taken by 75%. Or if you're in Polar Knight, the fewer allies present, the greater the damage the bearer deals, up to 150%. Both of these are constant buffs that will not go away and cannot be stopped, because they're just like it's a form change if you think about it that way. Her S3, the Moonlight Heralding Dawn. This one's a crazy one. I like this one a lot. So, with the White Knight form, attacks a single enemy, so it's a single target. This skill ignores 30% of the target's defense and deals increased damage. If attacking with an elemental advantage, grants invulnerability for 1 turn. Cough, cough, R.I.P. Nella. Nella has been a serious problem in PvP for a very long time. Anybody who's in PvP and has been playing for a while, you know how annoying Nella is with all of her bullshit. Moonlight of Heralding Dawn is going to help out with that because you can just hit her, ignore her defense by 60% if you have her at 6 stars because of, hello, 30% passive penetration. Hey. So you'll get 60% damage penetration, and then deals increased damage, and then you also get invulnerability right afterwards. And that's if you're in White Knight form, which means you're going to be taking 75% less damage anyway. That's pretty cool. At Polar Knight, attacks all enemies, so now it becomes an AoE. For each target, reduces skill cooldown by 1 turn and increases priority by 25%. Now, I don't know if the skill cooldown is all skill cooldowns or if it's just Moonlight of Heralding Dawn. Regardless, I don't think it really matters too much. Mainly because if it's all skill cooldowns, that's busted. And if it's just this skill cooldown, that's still busted. Just not as busted. And then increases your priority by 25%. Realistically, if you're fighting a full team and you use this skill first, you're going to reduce the skill cooldown by 4 turns. It has a 6-turn cooldown. It will be a 5-turn cooldown after you use it. -4 is a 1 turn, which means the next turn you won't be able to use it, but then the turn after you will. And then increases priority by 25%. If you hit a team of 4, that's a 100% priority bump, which is nuts. I love being able to go again. And then you can use Abraxas right afterwards. Next, I want to talk about the burst skill effects. So, Heaven's Fall, she has a S1 burst, which is super helpful. I like when we have an S1 burst. It means you can do it whenever you need to. Her burst 1 basically just combines the White Knight and Polar Knight effects to where you do both at the same time. You get the attack buff and you get the priority buff. Super helpful. At burst level 2, increases the damage and then +2 accuracy turns before attacking. So she'll get an accuracy buff as well, and then she'll attack. I believe the increased accuracy buff is 50%. Yes, it is. And that also still does the attack increase and the priority bump. And now at burst level 3, which is a really expensive one, 200 is a pretty expensive burst skill. Changes to enhanced skill, increases damage. After attack, she gets immortality for a turn, which is really, really helpful and attacks all enemies. It becomes an AoE. Now, don't forget, when you use a high level burst, like a burst level 3, you also get the bonuses of burst level 2 and burst level 1. So if you use her burst level 3, you're going to get the enhanced skill, the increased damage, the immortality, the AoE effect, the +2 accuracy, the 2 turns of accuracy buff, and then also an increased attack and a +20% to your priority. You get all of that when you do your burst level 3, which is nuts. That is an amazing burst level 3. I want to talk about her exclusive equipment really, really quickly. King's Wisdom. Basically, it increases her priority by 50% when she gets hit. Happens once every 4 turns, but realistically, you're only going to need it for that first turn anyways. After that, either she dies or, the battle's going to be over with her. She is going to be a really, really helpful addition to any type of lance teams that are just going to try to blow through the opponent as fast as possible. She's going to be a super helpful addition to that. Prevents counterattacks when using the Moonlight Heralding Dawn. Now, I just want to point something out to you guys. First, at 6 stars, she gets plus 100% Moonlight Heralding Dawn's damage, doubling the damage. She then also still gets 30% passive penetration effects. Then on top of it, with Polar Knight, if you're using this as an AoE, you're going to reduce the skill cooldown by 4, increase your priority by 100 if you hit a full team of 4, and then on top of that, nothing's going to be able to counterattack it when you use it. If you get this to level 10, that is absolutely crazy. I love this passive. Just being able to prevent counterattack when that happens is super helpful. Gnosis Thalia is a real big problem in PvP still. And being able to just say, you don't get to counterattack is really, really nice. And on top of that, you can still use this as a 1-turn skill, as the White Knight skill, the single target version, and this still will work as well. So any boss that has a counterattack mechanic, you can just go around it and avoid it entirely. On top of that, this skill already, if you use it in a single target form, this is mostly for PvE reasons. The skill ignoring 30% of the target's defense plus the 30% passive penetration, you're ignoring 60% of their defense, and I air quote around 60% because it actually turns into like 57 something percent instead, because the 30% activates twice. So I think it's like in between like 55 to 57%, instead of actually being 60. It's weird how math works. As a chain companion, after attacking, recovers the caster's and the next skill chain caster's action points by 25. Basically, that means just don't leave her on the end. Leave her somewhere in the middle. Just don't let her finish. Don't let her use the chain attack finish. That's the only thing. And then dual attack. The dual attack effect is the same thing as it always is. It's whatever the S1 is plus the bonuses, whatever it is. And I do want to say EE priority, PvE tier, PvP tier, and our recommended gear. We are still working on that as a community. We do take a lot of time when new characters come out and we discuss it as a community. We figure out what the best answer is. We have some of the smartest people, in my opinion, working in our community trying to help better this website and make it as good as it possibly can. Shout out to all of you guys. You guys are awesome. In my opinion, my EE priority, if you're playing in PvE, not as high, but in PvP it's going to be really high to stop that counterattack. I would say it's pretty high overall regardless. PvE tier, I give it a high A. I give her high A. I don't think she's S tier on PvE just because I think there's going to be a lot of situations in which she's not really going to excel as well. PvP tier, S tier. Without a second of doubt, S tier PvP, high A tier PvE. Just because I don't think her single target damage is going to be outshining a lot of our other characters like Ryu. Ryu is crazy with her DPS, same with Rei. They do some of the highest DPS in the game, and I just don't think Luna has what it takes to overtake them. But I also haven't tested her all on PvE, so, I could totally be wrong. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So, recommended gear. I actually have... Oh, whoopsies. There we go. I have Outerplane opened up in the background. I want to quickly talk about the gear. So first things first, of all of the weapons, in my opinion, Fire Fist is okay. If she is going to stay alive and is going to be able to use her ult and keep killing things, Fire Fist is helpful because you'll be able to keep that cooldown reduction. However, in my personal opinion, Thumping Knuckle Dusters is infinitely better because you're going to be increasing her damage by 10% of the target's attack when attacking. 10% of her attack, if you have 8,000 attack, is 800 extra damage. Not bad. However, if you are farther into the game, Barrios' Recklessness for mages does increase damage that targets all enemies, which is 20%. I believe it maxes out at 20%. This is better if you're going to be spamming that S3 all the time, and it's more geared towards PvP. If you're looking at PvE, you're not going to be using an attack that targets all enemies every single time. But when you need that 20% extra damage on an AoE attack in PvP, you definitely need that 20% damage in PvP. So this is what I would use if you're going to be PvP sweating like I am. If you're just going to be casual playing PvE and you're not really going to worry too much about PvP, Thumping Knuckle Dusters is realistically all you need. Next, I want to talk about her accessory. Honestly, I've seen a lot of people going back and forth about her accessory. This is one that I'm fairly confident I know the answer to, and that's just because I give it to my Maxwell. Queen of Prism. So first things first, Queen of Prism, you can get penetration buff on it, which a 30% penetration buff plus a 30% penetration buff plus Queen of Prism that maxes out at 36%, is ridiculous. That's a 96% penetration. That's a lot of penetration. Again, it doesn't actually mean that. I actually think it turns into 85% penetration because you get diminishing returns for every penetration effect because this number gets smaller and smaller. However, that penetration can be really helpful for anything in a serious fight. And I say the 30 plus 30 plus 36. Queen of Prism is 36. Her S3 naturally has 30% in her in the base form of it. In the let me see, where is it? The White Knight form of it. The White Knight form has 30%, but only in single target form. But then at 6-star, she gets passive 30%. So if you just take her passive 30% and you give her Queen of Prism, that's going to give her an extra 36%. I think that turns into around 60% base penetration rather than like 30 or 66%. I think it's actually around 60%. And then on top of that, if you're boosting her attack really high, she'll get a barrier equal to 80% of her attack, which is a lot. I mean, if you think about someone that has, if you can get her to 9,000 attack, 80% of 9,000 attack is like 7,500, I'm pretty sure. Is somewhere around there. I think it's like 7,800. That means they're going to have to do an additional 7,800 points of damage to her in order to do anything about it, which still means she can live a Demiurge Aste S3. The average one, you can live that, but if it's min-max to hell and back, you're going to take 23,000 points of damage, and there's not a fucking thing you can do about it. She's going to get nuked anyway. However, you know, against regular things that are not going to immediately blow her up in one hit, because their damage is that high, she should live it after she gets hit once. You know? I think she'll be pretty good at surviving. The next thing I would mention is this one, priority of the wearer when you score a critical hit. Garbage. I don't think it's really going to be useful for her. The other one, however, the Gorgon's Vanity, if you do not have survivability issues with her and you're able to keep her around for a long period of time and keep her low HP for a while, Gorgon's Vanity is probably going to be helpful because you can increase your speed even more, which is super, super cool. And you can get penetration on it anyways. So you can still get that 36% penetration on top of, now you can boost your speed proportional to your missing health, but you don't get that barrier like I was talking about with Queen of Prism. It really is up to you. Queen of Prism is going to help your survivability if she's having a hard time sticking around and nuking things. I say Queen of Prism. If you don't have that problem and you're able to kind of keep her alive for longer periods of time, I think Gorgon's Vanity is probably better. Just because the faster she is, the more damage she's going to be able to do, the more S3 she's going to be able to pop, and more things she's going to be able to explode out of existence. Talking about her gear set, I'm going to be blatantly honest with you guys. The speed is key. With her, I would probably run a speed set very similar to this style of stat breakdown, except in defense, I would do speed. I think the priority for stats is going to be speed, crit chance, crit damage, attack for her. Just because you want her to be fast. You want her to be able to hit everything before they have a chance to, and I think speed's definitely going to help. Yes, you could do a speed accessory if you really wanted to. However, I like the penetration more. I think it's going to be more bang for your buck in the long run, especially in PvP, where with the rise of her, we're probably going to see more uses of Cannon and Karen, very defensive-based characters. Cannon, Karen, and Kappa are going to be very hard to deal with because their attack is completely based off of their defense, which means the bulkier they are, the harder they are going to kill, and the bulkier they are, the more damage they're going to do as well. Plus, they don't have that invulnerability weakness because if Demi Luna hits a dark element character, she's going to get invulnerability. They don't have a dark element, so she's not going to get that invulnerability buff. So even if you do single target hit them, which is going to be crazy if you do, they might actually still live because of how bulky they are.
The more you pursue it, the more it seems to conceal itself with the unknown.
Thanks, Maxwell. I appreciate that. I don't know if the voice line came in, but he was just telling me about the mysteries of truth. But yeah, this is realistically what I would say instead of defense. Speed, crit chance, crit damage, attack, or speed, crit chance, attack, crit damage. Those two can kind of be switched around depending on what you're building for. And that's how I would build my Demiurge Luna. Really quickly, before I end this video here, I want to talk about her talismans. If you're running PvE, Rogue's Charm, in my opinion. I think Rogue's Charm is going to be really, really strong. Just 10 points when you attack scores a critical hit. The other one that I would definitely recommend is Assassin's Charm. When she uses an ultimate, she'll get some AP. If you don't want to do that, you can do Mage's Charm, which is AP if you hit everything. And the last one would probably be Undertaker's. If you kill something, you get AP. Either three of these are going to be really great. You probably want to try to roll something with attack or crit chance or crit damage. Any of those mentioned stats before. I don't think you'll find a speed one. I don't know if there is a speed one. I don't think you can get a talisman that's speed. I don't think so, at least. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think you can't get a speed talisman, but you might. I don't think I have a speed talisman, which means I might be really, really unlucky, or that just doesn't happen. But yeah, Undertakers, mages, or assassins, realistically for her. PvE, I would maybe do Rogue's Charm if you're trying to chain attack everything. Sage's Charm isn't bad if you know you're going into it with an element advantage, like for World Boss or Joint Boss. Sage's Charm might actually be a little bit better. Tactician's Charm isn't bad either, because if you're basically always attacking a dark element, which you'll know way ahead of time, Tactician's Charm is better. I would probably use that for Joint Boss or World Boss if it's a dark element. If not, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Yeah, with that, I'm going to leave this video here. I do appreciate you guys sticking around, hanging out with me for a little bit while I talk about these awesome characters. Oop, wrong button. While I stick around and talk about this awesome character. Let me know what you guys think of this different format. I wouldn't have had to do this format if I actually got the character, but unfortunately I got really unlucky and didn't get the character. And by unlucky, I mean stupid, because I wanted Omega Nadia more, which is fine. I'm just a little dingus. Demiurge Luna is an amazing character. I feel really dumb pulling for Omega Nadia as much as I have, when I should have just waited for Demi Luna to come out. Oh well, nothing I can do about it now. Let me know if you like this format better, or if you preferred me doing it in-game. I will probably stick to whichever format you guys like the most. I'll leave a link to the website down below if I remember. That's a big if. Again, check out the website, explore it around a little bit. There's some really great filters, and we have all sorts of craziness here. We have so many amazing things. Like if you just want to look at 3 stars, you click this. This is all the 3 stars that they've added to the game. If you want to look at just light characters, there you go. If you want to look at just dark characters, boom. You know, there's all sorts of different ways we can do this. I really do appreciate everybody who's put in the time and effort into this. You can also look by class. These are all the mages, these are all the healers, these are all the rangers, these are all the defenders. I have to give it up for the community. They did an amazing job for making this. They just did an amazing job making this website. I love them to death for it. This makes my life super easy. This makes your guys' life super easy. And hopefully this blows up in popularity. And who knows? That could be really cool, you know? But without further ado, I'm going to leave the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for sticking around and chatting with me for a little bit while I talked about Demiurge Luna, the character that I have yet to get. Hopefully I can fix that soon. I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace.